I was a trusted servant of Pharaoh, the cupbearer. My duty was simple yet critical. I ensured that every drink that touched his lips was safe. It was an honorable position, a sign of Pharaoh's trust in me, but trust can crumble quickly, can't it? One moment you're in the palace and the next you're cast into the darkness of a prison cell. I don't know what I did to offend Pharaoh. Maybe it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, or maybe someone whispered lies in his ear. All I know is that I was thrown into prison and I shared that space with men who had fallen from similar heights. Men like the baker. The days were long and heavy, but then something strange happened. A young Hebrew named Joseph was brought into the prison. There was something different about him. A calmness, a confidence that didn't belong in a place like that. He served us, tended to our needs. And then came the night of my dream. I saw a vine full of life with 3 branches. As I watched, it blossomed, its flowers turning to ripe clusters of grapes. I held Pharaoh's cup in my hand and pressed the grapes into it, offering it to him. The dream was so vivid, so real. I told Joseph about it, unsure what it could mean. Listened carefully, and then he told me, the 3 branches are 3 days. In 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position. You will place Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as you used to do. I wanted to believe him. His words were so sure, so certain. Then he added something, just a small request. He said, when it goes well with you, remember me, show me kindness, mention me to Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. I nodded, of course, how could I not? 3 days later, Pharaoh celebrated his birthday, and just as Joseph said, I was summoned. My heart pounded as I stood before Pharaoh. Then he spoke the words I had longed to hear. I was restored. My position was mine again. The nightmare was over. I placed the cup in his hand once more, just as I had done so many times before. But I forgot Joseph. I don't know why. Maybe it was the joy of my restoration, the relief of escaping that terrible place. Maybe it was fear of bringing up a prisoner before Pharaoh. Whatever the reason, days turned to weeks, weeks to months, and I said nothing. I left him there, in that pit, forgotten. It wasn't until Pharaoh was troubled by dreams no one could explain that I remembered Joseph. I told Pharaoh about the young Hebrew who had interpreted my dream, and Joseph was brought before him. That day, he rose from the prison to the palace, saving Egypt with his wisdom. And me? I returned to my life, but I carried the weight of my delay. I am telling my story today so that others will learn from my failure. Never forget a promise, and never leave someone in the pit when you have the power to lift them out.